From FS Securities, a stockbroking firm on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. And today, as every Monday I do, will show you how investors and traders may make money on our stock market. I will show you what is hot and what is not, and what you should perhaps hold and what you should fold. So enjoy the presentation, and if you have any feedback, please send us a feedback and some information about what you like and dislike. First of all, I'm going to show you a very important graph. What you see here is the volume on our market the last 15 days. I want to tell you that the last trade on Friday, we've seen that the volume on our market has been the highest for nearly 10 years. And by the way, on Friday, 31% of the volume was in declines and 28% were advances. But there was a huge volume, and that really tells us something about the mood of the market. So I think when I see that the volume has been the highest for 10 years ever, and on that particular day the volume indicated that there were more selling than buying, it tells me there is an important message in our market. Whether you think that because of the Iran-USA spat is the issue, whether you think that because central banks all around the world intends to lower the interest rate, that is an indication of weakness in the global economy, there are too many factors are yet to be revealed. So please be cautious in the future. Okay, I want to show you what happened the last 2 weeks, and may or may not really indicate the momentum that may start to develop in the next few weeks. In America, over the last 2 weeks, you can see right in the middle, that column here, it really shows what increase we've seen on the Dow the last 2 weeks. We've seen most of it that happened last week. It's like, like pushing the market to the brink and then take a respite and do something in the opposite direction. That's my view anyway. The same thing with the Nasdaq. We've seen 3.7 over the last 2 weeks. Most of it occurred last week. 2.7 for the S&P 500. Most of it last week. Now, in terms of the Australian dollar, it actually gained strength because the American dollar was in decline. Over the last 2 weeks, the American dollar actually was down by nearly 1%. What happened to gold? Gold, again, is that an expression of concern of what's happening? Maybe because of the Iran spat, maybe because of the downing of the drone, the American drone, and the retaliation by America. No one knows. But anyway, what we know that gold went up by 4.3% last week, $57. Got to $1,400 for the first time in many months. This is also an indication of the fear that investors have. And the same thing happened with silver. Silver usually follows gold. Crude oil went up by nearly 10%, again because of the concern that if the Strait of Hormuz, which where 25% of the oil transport goes through that point, if there is a major bombardment in the area and a lot of ships are unable to travel that particular strait, then obviously the price of oil is going to continue to go higher. Okay, well, that's as far as the American market and commodities. So there is concern in the market and you need to be aware of it. Now let's look at our market. We've had very good week last week as well, with the exception of communication, which include Telstra and TPG. Most of the sectors actually were going up. So if you believe that our market is governed by two main sectors, that is the financial and the materials, and it doesn't happen all the time that both sectors are up. It happened last week. Usually one goes up, the other one goes down. Well, maybe that was actually the reason why our market has gone higher to a very high point. You can see here the market 6,650, still below the 6,850 that we've seen about 12 years ago before the financial crisis. Well, the financials were up by 2% last week and the materials were up by 1%. Now let's see what happened the last 2 weeks. Material was up by 6.3%. Obviously that's good for BHP, Rio and Fortescue. And the financials were up by 2.1% over the last 2 weeks. Now looking at the other side, let's see which sector has gone up quite a bit. BHP went up by 8% over the last 2 weeks. Rio by 3.6%. Now Fortescue as well did very well. Now the banks last week did better than the week before. 1.1 for ANZ, CBA 3% last week, and NAB 0.5% and Westpac 1.3%. Newcrest Mines 12% over the last 2 weeks. So where would you put your money in? Again, because of the concern that we have, because of the volume that occurred on Friday, I'll say today is a time where you probably sit down and wait for more indication from the market. Remember, this week we have a lot of central bank gurus who will be talking about their view about the world and at the interest rate. We also have the Osaka G20, and hopefully the American and the Chinese will come to agree about something forward, positive to go forward rather than negative. My expectation is that Chinese will play hardball and the American may have to give something for Trump to look like a star performer, because he's an actor and he loves the accolades that he gets from the market when he does something that the market likes. Okay, this is actually the chart for the Dow Jones. You can see that the last week we had a good, very good week last week. However, the last day of the week, on Friday, that actually, which closed on Saturday morning our time, the market really gave a big decline, got nearly close to 2,700 and went down to almost the opening point. That is a very bearish candle. If you understand the candle technical analysis point of view, this is a very bearish candle. Okay, now looking at our market, again the same thing happened, and by the way, our market dropped well before the American market opened, so the signal started to appear across the world even before the American market opened. Okay, so just to look at the weekly chart here, before Christmas the market dropped by nearly 13% and it recovered very quickly over it and gained further decline, further advances over that. And Friday indication shows that that was actually a bearish indication. Now to finish off, I don't know your financial circumstances, so please, before you take any action, talk to us or talk to your financial advisor. And if you have any questions, of course you can ask the questions to me directly. You can write to me at george@fssecurities.com.au, or you can actually send a text, or you can call me on my mobile. If you're ringing from overseas, you put 61 first, you take the 0 off, 411-259526. All the best and happy trading, and I hope you have a good week.